Constance Nelson. I'm a licensed mental health counselor. I am the lead therapist and CEO of Constantly Healthy Counseling and Coaching. I love my practice. I've built it from a baby up. Being the owner means I can do whatever I want, which is really fun. We have a building. We have the whole second floor, and we have spread that second floor out so people bring their children. We have 2 waiting rooms. Just a beautiful place to help our parents and help our clients kind of feel at home. A little bit about my relationship with Dr. Franz, 25 years. In fact, as I was walking down the hallway to go to the ladies' room, I remember my 3-year-old autistic son running down the hallway, and she said to me, he's like a little cartoon character. I'm like, he really is, right? Damaged by a vaccine, same kind of situation. No doctors would really listen or talk to me. Dr. Franz and she was very new. I think it was the worst and first case of autism she had ever seen. And so we were just trying to figure it out as moms. I was not going to school then. I just quit my job because he was fine and then was completely nonverbal. And so we had to bring him out of that. He's 28 now. He's fully functioning. He does have his things. Yeah, he has a bus that picks him up, takes him to work every day. He speaks a lot. So be careful what you wish for. And he's probably 16-year-old in his mind, but he's 28. So he's fully functioning, and I give a lot of credit to Dr. Franz. I love the homeopathy presentation. Because we were on the brink of that when she was here. And she was like, I don't know, let's try this. Let's try that. I'm like, okay, because nothing was working. So, and I remember the NAPMR, like I'm watching the remedies, I'm like, right? And I can remember on a sidebar, I just want to plug you for a second. You get these teachers, now he's 28. So remember, at 3 years old, there wasn't internet, there was only search engines, right? No one knew what was going on, there was no books, there was nothing like that. I was completely lost. I didn't even know what had happened. And so when I went to come to see her, she's like, I don't have time to do this, so can you do it? I'm like, yeah, I'll do all the research. So we would come in, I would do the research, and I can tell you that I got teachers back then. Parker was 3. He was in a nonverbal classroom because he wasn't speaking, and she did not believe in any of this, did not believe in any of the diets, didn't believe any of it. And by the end of the year, she sure did. Because my kid would come in on a Monday, be horrible. I would take him to Dr. Franz, and we had another homeopathic, I think it was an herbalist. We would do some remedies over the weekend. He would come back on a Monday, be a different kid. Like she'd have all the little tools to kind of give him, to keep him in his chair, and he was doing his thing in the chair. And by the end of the year, she was sold that homeopathy was something. And the diet, I would buy the snacks for the classroom, because you can imagine, it's 28, the snacks that they would bring in that would make any normal kid pretty, bananas. So I bring in gluten-free, and I would bring in these things back in the day. She didn't believe in any of that. But by the end of the year, she was letting me, because she watched the kids and how different they were. And again, all kids are different. I'm not plugging that. They're all different. Sometimes gluten-free works, sometimes it doesn't. It made amazing results on my kid, from having horrible tantrums to being okay. It doesn't happen for every kid. All kids are different, which is why I love the homeopathy, the kind of overview of everything. And I kind of feel like that's what I do in my practice too. We try to make sure that I wrap around my parents. I wrap around the entire pieces. So it's not just I'm dealing with you, I'm dealing with your family. So I see the parents, I see the children, I see aunts, I see the uncles, I see everybody. Right? Because you don't get a healing from just seeing one person in the family. You get a healing from seeing all the people. So I'm a certified life coach. I'm certified in Gottman, which means I'm a certified couples therapist. I'm also a child coach. And my whole team is always trained that way. In fact, this weekend I'm paying next weekend for 2 of my therapists to go to a very lucrative training for Gottman, because I know it's worth it. Because for me, I want to make sure you get the best care from me. Talk therapy is dead. No one talks anymore. If you want to go talk to your friends, right? You do that for free. In my practice, we make sure that you work, you get what you need. There is an aha moment. If you don't leave my room with a little bit of tears, I've let you down, because something's not right. Right? Because when I went to therapy, when I was in my 20s, I remember going, I could like talk to my friend right now. But I did find a therapist that every time I went, she would make me cry. And if she didn't, I felt ripped off. And I would say, where's the tissues? Make me cry. Because if I'm going to be in therapy, I want to figure out what's going on in me. Dig deep. Exactly. We want to figure it out. And for my parents, it's very important that I see you with my children. I will not allow my parents to drop their kids off. I worked in the school system. I know what that is like. It does not work. It's almost like I was a football coach, and I would patch these kids up When I worked in the school system, I was a therapist. They don't have therapists in the school systems anymore. They're interns, by the way. So when you're in the school system, these counselors, not your counselor in the school, but the ones that they contract out to are interns. Nothing wrong with that, but that's what I did. And so when I did this practice in these school systems, I would work with these kids, and I swear I was sending them home to battle. They were battling the schools because I was on the other side of the town where the schools are not that great, and I'm helping the kids survive in the classroom and then helping them survive at home. So I told myself if I ever got a practice, if I ever did this, that I would not do it that way. And I get a lot of pushback from my parents. They do. They give me a lot. We were just talking about it. They give you a lot of pushback. Normally I have a whiteboard. So they can be angry at the whiteboard. You know, it's not me, it's the whiteboard. And I try to be very caring and go, you know what? It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. I raised my kid like this too. It's not your fault. But the first person I start with is my parent. If you're not right, if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not doing what's best for you, your child won't do it either. And I'll tell you, I have so many stories about this. Young girls on my couch, I'll say it generally, young girls on my couch, right? They're talking to me about their relationships. They're talking to me about their boyfriend and how horrible he is and how abusive mentally he is and how he's so controlling. And she's going on. And I go, okay, so where's your community? Well, I talked to my mom. I go, okay, how does your mom? My mom says I should leave him. She said I should leave him. He's not good for me. I'm like, okay, tell me about mom. Oh, growing up, mom did everything for us. She made sure she didn't work. She stayed home. She took care of us. She put herself last. And I went, Is that what you're doing right now in your relationship? Ladies, this does not help our parent. This does not help our children. You putting them first will make them put their relationships first. Modeling is so important. You touched on it too. Modeling is so important. But if you don't understand yourself on a deep way, you're going to be affecting your child and parenting them the way that you needed to be parented or wanted to be parented. And you don't want that. You want to give them the parenting that they need, not the parenting that you wanted when you were a kid. So you have to be very careful in that inner working model. I call it inner child work. It's my jam. I go there within the first 15 minutes. Because if you don't understand what's going on in you, you don't understand anything about your relationship, in your community, or your children. So when people refer people to me, they say, bring a notebook, bring some tissues, and bring a pen, because she doesn't play. Because I don't play.
Right.
You know, it's an investment. We don't take insurance. And the reason we don't take insurance is I used to take insurance, but they don't pay enough. And so my therapists were not getting trained. So I wasn't able to train my people. So you can find people that are, and I'm not saying there's not good therapists out there that take insurance, they probably are, but in the state of Florida, they don't care about mental health. And I can tell you, I'm a Gottman 3 certified couple specialist, and I brought a couple into my room. They went 7 times with their insurance company for couples counseling, 7 times. 1 hour in my room. They learned more in an hour than 7 visits. So what is your time worth? Right? 7 visits. I tell
What is
people,
your marriage worth?
Go to your insurance company. Absolutely. Let me know how it goes. And 9 times out of 10, I get them back. Right? No worries. It's not the therapist's fault. It's just that nobody cares about mental health, especially in the state of Florida. In other states, it's different. When I do seminars before COVID, and I used to go and travel and be in these different states with other therapists, they get different paybacks. I don't know why, but for here it isn't. So don't go by price point, right? Don't do it. Go by knowledge, And so I have created a university called Constantly Healthy University that right now is free. I'll give you guys can all log in, and it's about how to find a therapist. Because I think that's a big problem right now. How to find a therapist. What questions to ask when you find a therapist, yeah? Couples therapy. What to do with couples therapy. I had a couple on the phone last night. Went through the whole little Gottman thing. Because my first hour, we don't talk about your problems. Because clearly you don't know how to do that. Right? You wouldn't be here. Right? Well, he does this. And I'm like, I don't care. That's not important. This is my method. This is what we're going to be doing. It's a little bit of a dog and pony show. They buy into the method, and then I see them individually. I do that for my kids too. I see them individually and I find out what's going on in them. And then we come back and have a beautiful couple session and really understand yourself. But if you don't understand yourself, you can't understand your relationship. I've seen thousands and thousands of couples, mostly because, this wasn't supposed to be couples, but mostly because when I was interning, no one wanted to see couples. Nobody wanted to do it. because they're crazy. And so I saw couple after couple after couple after couple. And then I told myself I wouldn't see children anymore because I did that in the school system. They wanted me to see their kids. And I'm the kind of person that I'm going to develop a program for everything. So I got certified with Gottman as a child coach, and I built a program around that. So I have my program for premarital, I have my program for couples, I have my program for kids, right? And every time I see a need, I'm like, oh, gotta make a program for that, right? Because I want structure, right? Very emotional. We have to find that emotional within us. That's how we move. Emotion equals motion, okay? If cognitive behavior therapy worked, that's talk therapy. If you came in my office and I go, stop smoking. I know it's bad for me. It is bad for you. It's gonna kill you. I know. All right, stop smoking. It's not gonna happen. Unless you get to the emotional component of what's going on with you, you're not gonna stop smoking. There's too much good things that happen when you smoke. You feel better, you take a nice deep breath, you calm down. You gotta figure out what's going on. So most of your therapists out there do cognitive behavior therapy, which is CBT, which all insurance companies take because they don't care. I work for Better Health, that's fun. Like, it is what it is, but this is the modality they use. Talk therapy is dead, it doesn't work, it's nice, but go talk to your friends for free. But find a therapist that's gonna get in there and make you work, right? And Sydney is my lead, she's my one of my child coaches, and she is younger, right? But she's, in her wisdom, has so much wisdom in her. But I can tell you that I think sometimes my parents push back at her a little bit, because they think she doesn't know. Right? But she is a young adult. Of course she knows. She's been there closer than we've been there.
Right, recently.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So she gets it, and she's completely trained in understanding. Does that make sense, guys?
Yes.
So I went completely off script. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about EQ, IQ, and I know we had talked a little bit about what this looks like. So for my parents, I teach them. They come in my room, and I start apologizing right away. I'm like, I'm really sorry. This is not going to be pretty. It's not your fault, right? I say that through the whole presentation, right? Because I want to make sure that they know that we did the best we could. So we have EQ, IQ, which just means emotional intelligence and intellectual intelligence, right? I actually made a video for this, and I'll share it with all of you, because one of my parents said, can you make me a video? And I'm like, sure, I'll make you a video. So I actually made a video on this to see how parents could kind of lean into this. So EQ, IQ, what does this look like? I don't have my whiteboard, right? So I have my EQ, IQ on my board. What is intellectual coaching and what is emotional coaching? All right? Intellectual coaching is the way we all were coached, right? We think as parents, we have to make them feel better, right? We have to make them okay. So I'm going to give you an idea or an example of what this looks like. So an intellectually coached parent, right, from our childhood, right? Johnny comes home from a baseball game. He's 7. He's struck out, he's had a horrible time, the kids hate him, he's a mess. This is what an intellectually coached parent will do. What happened, Johnny? Well, the kids hate me. No, they don't, Johnny. You're fine. No, they hate me. You don't get it. I couldn't hold it back. Johnny, you know what? Remember last week? You did fine last week. What am I doing? What am I doing? I'm not validating. I'm not listening.
No.
I'm just mulling right over him and tell him how he should feel. Yeah, how is that's so cute. I don't know what that is. That's cute. I don't know if that's a thing, but I like it.
I like it. It's a thing now.
Is it true? Yeah, I'm gonna use it.
It's an
right?
original.
Yeah, they just kind of roll over, right? And they don't listen. They don't validate, right? But we think we don't want them to feel bad. Well, they better feel bad now. Or they want to feel bad in college, with my kids that I'm coaching in college right now. They didn't learn this skill when they were younger. So they don't know how to do it in college. And I have to call them every week. And I have to coach them because they're having their 7-year-old experience in college. Yeah. So we need to give them a container. We need to make sure that we're listening. What does an emotionally coached parent do when Johnny comes home? An emotionally coached parent is very different. When Johnny comes home, the emotionally coached parent goes, what happened? Well, it was awful. I had a terrible time. Oh, it was awful. Okay. Now you better be okay in yourself when you're doing this. If your little person starts getting triggered here and you want to nurture them because your little inner child isn't okay, it's not going to work. So you got to be okay. You got to be solid in yourself, right? So Johnny comes home. He's had a horrible time. He's struck out, right? All the kids hate him. What happened, Johnny? Well, all the kids hate me. So what I hear you saying, Johnny, is all the kids hate you. Okay, I hear you. What else happened? Well, I couldn't hold the bat. Oh, tell me more. What am I doing? I'm asking him questions. He's telling me. I'm listening, validating, and restating back, which is also a couples model. It's the same thing. Yeah? Okay, so what I hear you saying is you couldn't hold the bat. all right, I hear it. Makes sense. Were you frustrated? I was so frustrated. Woo, I'd be frustrated too.
Right.
I'm matching and mirroring.
Mirroring.
Yeah? Listening, validate, restating. Now watch this. Now he's 7. So I'll go, okay, so what do you think you could have done differently? Questions, guys. Questions. Don't tell them what to do. Don't do that. Because again, we're training them for the workforce. That's what we're training them for. So they can go to their workforces and have jobs and be able to take criticism and problem solve. If you problem solve for them now, you're gonna be problem solving for them. They're gonna be on your couch in your house at 25.
Girl,
which
preach.
I have coached many parents this way. I have a whole other issue there. So he's 7. You're asking him questions, right? What's going on, Johnny? Tell me more. He says, well, you know, I couldn't hold the bat. Oh, what happened with the bat? Look how long it's taking me now. It's going to take me a while to do this. It's easier to go, oh, Johnny, you're fine. Let's go get some spaghetti or whatever. You know, it's easier to do that. But taking the time to emotionally coach them, because when Johnny makes a mistake, he's going to learn that he's not a mistake. But if I coach him, his emotions are wrong, he's wrong, and he's a mistake. And that kid's gonna grow up and not wanna, you know, I got an A, I got a B, I am a B, I'm a failure, I'm failing. No, you don't want them to do that. The emotionally coached kid will grow up and make mistakes. And when they make mistakes, they get to grow. And it's exciting to make mistakes. Does that make sense? You want them to make mistakes, but they're not a mistake. That's different. So your behavior, separate from behavior. So what I hear you saying is that you had a hard time. You made some bad choices, Johnny. Okay. Not that he's bad. He's made a bad choice. So tell me more. What can we do? He says he's 7. He goes, maybe, Mom, I can go to the coach. Maybe you can go to the coach. Now, because he's 7, I'll call the coach and go, hey, Johnny's coming here.
Right.
Like, I probably do that, right? He's 7,
Right.
I had to do that in the school, so I had to give them business cards to take back to their classrooms so the teachers would know that I was working with them, so they would give them a break and actually listen to them, right? So I may have to call Johnny's coach, but if Johnny gets up and he calls his coach, and then he goes coaching, and the coach says, yeah, Johnny, let's go ahead and do some lessons. What lesson have I taught him? Empowerment, problem solving.
You engage, you empowered him.
He figured it out
listen.
on his own, and he's 7. So remember this, guys. Remember, and I'm going to tell you a story about my son about this too. When we jump in and we helicopter and we do what we have to do here, right? We're not helping them problem solve. And Dr. Franz will tell you this, if they don't problem solve, they don't self-soothe. And if they don't self-soothe at 15 in their identity crisis, which is from 13 to 19, and they're trying to figure out who they are, and their girlfriend breaks up with them or boyfriend and they want to kill themselves because they don't know how to soothe through it because we've been taking care of them for the last 15 years. I had a kid, this happened in an exotic island. Parents call me, I knew who they are. They're like, hey, we're having a problem. Our son wants to kill himself. And I'm like, okay, who are you and where are you? Like, I don't even know. People get my name all over the place. I'm like, they're in an exotic country in the most beautiful place in the world, and he's on the floor, wanted to kill himself because his girlfriend just broke up with him. And those parents pushed back on me hard. I had a lot. They didn't want to come in for coaching. They didn't want to come in for parenting. They didn't want to do any of that. And it was really difficult for me to counsel that kid. Is this making sense?
Yes.
So we're learning, empowering, ask questions. Let them figure it out, even if you know the answer. Even if you know, oh, they just turned that knob. Let me do it. No. I wonder what would happen if you turned that knob, even if you know. Even if you know what's going to happen. Lie. I wonder what we should do next. This is how you empower them. This is how they move through their world. This is how when something happens to them, they're able to work through it. My favorite story is this, and as I was doing the coaching video, this came to me. So in the backyard, when I was about 7 or 8 years old, I had a little graveyard. I went to Lutheran Sunday school, and I had a little grave. All my fish were buried, all my little pictures, you know. And I worked for hospice, and I was great at it, and I never knew why. And my dad was like, I don't get it. I'm like, I don't get it either. I don't know why it doesn't bother me. I sat right beside my best friend as she passed, held her hand, had definitely there for her, but was able to do it. And I think it's because my parents allowed me to have this little burial ground. I put little crosses, and I grieved little fish and little hamsters. I'm able to work through this grief. I'm able to learn grief. So when something hits me later, I'm okay with it. So ladies, we're learning to create a container. How do I create a container for my child to have these experiences now, or they're gonna have them in college, or high school, or when they're working, right? So how do we create this space for them to grieve? Yes, a couple of my puppies went to the puppy farm. I get it. I was much older when I realized there was not a puppy farm, right? I realized that has happened, but because of the little things that my parents did there, mostly because I don't think they really paid attention. They're like, yeah, whatever. But this is what we have to do. We have to create this space, and I have so many stories about this. My other story I'm going to tell you is about kids in my neighborhood were fixing cars. And back then in the day, I'm 55, so back then in the day, there was a lot of motivation. Right? We were in Virginia, it was cold, it was hot. The parents would give these broken down cars to these guys. I wish I paid attention, but I did not. And they would fix these cars. They were 15, 16 now. They go to the junkyard, there was no YouTube. Go to the junkyard, get pieces, try to figure it out. Never once did I see a parent come out and go, never mind, let me buy you a car. Never once did a parent go, you're doing that wrong, let me do it for you. Not once. Now these guys are millionaires. Now their relationships are not great, but they're extremely successful in their businesses, right? And I watched them do this, and they problem solve and fix that car. And when they started that car, we all cheered. You can't buy confidence like that. And no one told them what to do. They figured it out. Does it make sense? So we have to give our kids this time, this space to make sure they can figure it out. And it's painful sometimes, especially if your parents didn't help you. You know, it's painful to watch sometimes. And that's why it's important to work on you also, to make sure you have yourself organized so you can be that parent that they need. Does it make sense? And one more story I'm going to tell you. I have lots of stories. Oprah Winfrey did a segment years ago about child coaching. And I know you guys may have seen this. She's here, and they're here, and they're teaching parents how that their kids won't get kidnapped. Yeah, child lures. Yeah. Years ago. So she's here. The parents here, and these parents are convinced. They're convinced. There's no way. Yep. And even the older kids, they're walking away too. Like every parent after parent after parent, you would watch the kids on the screen because there was a screen up and like a playground in the back. And every time that kid got taken, every single time.
And the parents were like,
yeah, freaking out. Yeah. And so I'm like, no, they didn't teach this because I'm a little scientist, so I got something different out of it. So when they brought the kids in, they told the kids, they said, well, what happened? Here we go, IQ. This is your IQ kid. So she's 7. The child lure walks up to the kid and goes, why did you let me take you? IQ, intellectual. You said you were nice. You didn't. You looked nice. You had candy. You had a puppy. Here's all IQ, right? And he goes, okay, I hear you. How did you feel? Every time. Felt something in my chest. Felt something in my belly. Every kid. He goes, that's what you should follow. And I thought to myself, that's never going to happen. That they didn't teach that. That parent's going to go home and he's going to they're going to intellectually coach this kid. Yeah. Never, ever, ever leave with it. They're not going to teach them emotional intelligence because that wasn't in there.
Right.
Maybe they gave them a book. I don't know. But I tell you, those people, like those girls that got in Ted Bundy's car, I mean, the serial killer, think about that. He was a nice guy. They saw him. He was a lawyer. You not tell me that their guts weren't going bananas, but they were IQ. There's no emotional intelligence there. Is that making sense? And I give these examples to my parents because I'm going to kid them a little bit because I want them to feel what this feels like. It's very important for us to do these pieces, guys. Yes. Also the no. I'm going to strike back on the no. Watch the no. We say no, and if you negotiate the no, when our little girls go to school and some boy or even start pushing, what? No's negotiable? No is not negotiable. Yeah. There's no negotiable. My boys and my girls. Yes. No's are not negotiable. No. My parents go, very good. My parents go, oh, he's such a good negotiator. No, he's not. She's not. She's a manipulator. There's no negotiation. Negotiated kids are extremely anxious. They're going to be on antidepressants or some kind of medication by the time they're 10 or 11 because we haven't put the container. No means no. Now, our kids are tricky. And I'm going to tell you another story that I love. One of my parents, he didn't want his son to drive in the car stoned. 17, right? And I'm like, okay, Dad, I got you. He comes in, the kid goes, I don't know why. Dad pays for the card. I'm like, okay, tell me more. He's like, this is all the reasons pot is good for you. Because we're in the information age. And I went, okay. Dad said no, right? Dad goes, you know, he's got some really good points. And I'm like, oh God.
Oh.
Right? I look at Dad and I go, do you want him to smoke pot in the car? Like,
Right.
it doesn't matter. But we're in the information age and they're so smart. They're like, here's all the reasons pot is good for you. Right? Do you want him to smoke pot in the car? Then it's just a no. You're the parent. You're not their friend. Do not be their friend, guys. Don't do it. No means no. And when they're 18 and they're mouthing off to you, you change the locks. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, figure it out. Because they're going to have to figure it out. I can tell you, I talked to a mom twice. She came out, she goes, I got it. I changed the locks. I'm good. I don't need to talk to you anymore. Because her 18-year-old is mouthing off at her. No. You don't get to talk to me like that. You don't get access. But what happened when he was 7? That's my brain, right?
Yeah.
When he was 7, did we turn our back on him when he was acting a fool? Or did we try to negotiate his fullness?
Right.
No. When you're done acting a fool, you let me know. Oh, you done? Okay. How about now, little 7-year-old? No.
Right.
When they're done acting a fool, you turn towards them. You don't turn towards them when they're acting a fool. You don't negotiate with that behavior. Is this making sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So empowering our kids, making sure that they know the no. They know these questions to ask, they're problem solving this big. Because I got a 17-year-old that's tantruming. It's a little bit harder to get him straight than a 7-year-old, right? Another story I have, they used to throw us in the classrooms as counselors when I worked at this one inner city school. And I'm like, I'm not a teacher. So I'd walk into the classroom, okay guys, group therapy, get around. I'm not teaching, I don't know what I'm doing, right? I'd get them in a big circle, we'd all do group therapy. So one particular classroom, they were 6-year-olds, I think, 6-7-year-olds, and the teacher could not get the classroom under control. So I walked in the classroom, and as soon as I walked in, what did I start doing first? I see the kids, they're all being crazy. Who am I gonna look for? Now the teacher's looking for the kid that's doing something wrong, and she's on that kid.
Yeah, you gotta give positive reinforcement to the kid doing
That's
the right
right.
thing.
So everybody else is being wrong. So I walk in, I go, oh, Kelly, good job sitting in your desk. Oh, Johnny, good job there, holding your pencil. I don't know, they don't 6. Good job breathing, great job. You know, I don't know what they're doing. You know, whatever I could do, right, to get them, and they would go. And every time I walked in that classroom, they would get in they get in those chairs. Now, when you could hug kids back in the day, one kid would slap the other kid, and I would hug the kid that got slapped. I would ignore the kid that slapped them. It's making sense. It's so backwards, guys. I know that this is backwards in what we've been taught, to focus on the bad behavior. We ignore the behavior that we don't want. We focus on the behavior that we do want. And by the way, we do this with our spouses too.
Yeah.
We compliment them and light up their pleasure center when we need to light up their pleasure center. We give them compliments when they're doing something right. Does that make sense? So when our kids are doing something right, catch them doing something right. Don't negotiate with them, right? You're such a terrible parent. You won't let me go to the dance. Yeah, I know. It makes sense that you feel this way. You're still not going, but it completely makes sense. I think with my millennials, I think that got a little tricky. I think, I don't know, I look at the generations, I think we were okay with them, and when they had a good emotional excuse, we let them go. So I think we got it half right. So you can validate. It makes sense that you're pissed off that you're 17 and I won't let you drive the car because you smoke pot. Totally makes sense. But no. No. It makes sense that they feel this way. You can feel whatever you want, right? But you don't get access to me when you defy me. You don't get access to me when you're disrespectful. I don't talk to you till you're done. This making sense, guys. So we're learning empowerment. We're learning these questions we have to ask. We're learning as parents we have to get coached before we can coach our kids. That EQ, IQ model, right? I'm going to tell you another story about my son who's 28. Dr. Franz knows him well. He's very high functioning autistic child. He's very smart. I moved in this town, I don't know, 7 times to find him a school and finally found him a school. The program shut behind him, but finally found him a school, finally found him a work study program. He works for Advent Health. He's very happy. He's been there 7 years. He has his own bus. He's got his little carty thing. He gets on the bus. He goes to work every day. He's been there 7 years. They love him. Everybody speaks Spanish there, so he doesn't get in trouble because he can't offend anybody. So it's perfect. They love him. I'm like, you never know, right? I'm like, this is perfect, right? Yeah. They don't all speak English, so he's fine. Parker, it's awesome. So they high-five him, the CEO, I've been in there before. Parker, great job, with the machines this weekend. My son, I'm like, my son? Like, I'm going, my kid, great employee, love him. Mostly probably guys I didn't problem solve for him. That kid was doing his laundry at 10. You know, he picked his stuff up. Like, I was making sure about those kinds of things. But he had a bully in middle school, and I worked at the school. I wanted to kill that kid.
Yeah.
He would not leave him alone. He's one of your patients too. He would not leave him alone. He would not leave him alone, and I didn't know why. And so they were friends the first year, but the second year, he just tortured my son. And we did therapy, and I worked there. We did therapy, we did intervention, we did everything. Nothing worked. So this kid would not leave him alone. I'm going to backtrack. He's in middle school. He walks into the classroom crying, I quit. I hate this school. I quit. What do? I move him out of the way and go find that kid to kill him.
Yeah.
I did. I found him. I go to my phone and go, oh, what did I teach my son?
Mommy will come see you.
Mommy's going to overreact.
Yeah.
So when this person at his job started bullying him, he didn't want to tell me. This is why. And I feel like I did a pretty good job. I read the books and stuff. I tried to do everything backwards, you know, that my parents did. I tried to figure it out, but this is something I missed. So he has a job coach, and the job coach told me, this guy is bullying him. He's saying things to him like, you're gonna go home to your parents. He's reprimanding him for fixing the machines on the weekends, which his CEO had high-fived Parker for doing, that it was okay for him to do it. So I wanted to kill that guy, but I was okay, and I did it differently, and I asked questions. So when he walked upstairs, he was in the hallway, I go, hey. He's like, yeah, I'm having a hard time. I'm like, okay, tell me more, because I learned. Tell me more. This guy, he's saying things to me like, I'm going to send you home to your parents. I mean, really shitty things. My kid is clearly autistic. I mean, he doesn't have the verb, but he clearly is not his age. I mean,
Right.
You can tell. You know that something's not quite right. This guy knows it. And I said, okay, well, tell me more. And so he talks to me about this guy and what's happening. Well, I call his supervisor. And I tell Parker, go talk to your supervisor. But I'm like this because he's all, okay, Parker's going to call you. Like, I tried to stay back here, and I let the supervisor handle it. Well, they didn't, and this guy kept happening, right? Every Sunday, because nobody's there on Sundays, he works on Sundays. Every Sunday at his unit, this kid guy would come after him. So his dad, who's a big ex-cop, big cop guy, I said, why don't you go in on Sunday, introduce yourself to this man? So don't say anything, just shake his hand like you do, and he's cocky, so he's gonna do it. So on a Sunday, Parker's dad took him to work, picked him up, shook that guy's hand, and it stopped. But what does Parker think happened? He think he did it. His dad didn't say anything, all he did was shake that guy's hand, that's all he did.
Right.
But Parker thinks he did it. Parker thinks he problem solved. Parker thinks he figured it out.
Right.
And in one Parker's classes one year, he got problem solver of the year. So I know he knew how to do it. But because of those couple times that I reacted not well, and I got, you know, my little girl got all messed, my little inner child was like, kill him. He did not feel comfortable coming to me. So, is this making sense, guys?
Yeah.
We have to wrap our kids around these places. And I have a lot of these little stories I tell my parents because I want them to know that I've experienced it. And I do self-disclose, not always in my individual sessions, but with my parents, I do self-disclose because I am a parent and I want them to know I went through it as well, right? And I still deal with it sometimes. I still have to make sure that I'm empowering him that way. So, I think that's pretty much, we went through EQ, IQ.
Did the guy stop bullying him?
He did. Oh yeah. I never heard a word after that. I said, why don't you introduce yourself to that guy? Because there is ways that we can do it, but we have to empower our kids to do it that way. So again, my company is Constantly Healthy Counseling and Coaching. We have a wraparound program where all of us as therapists wrap around our cases. We see the parents, we see the kids. I see grandma. We see from 3 years old. I think my oldest client is 70. Yeah. A lot of my therapists come in. I'm never going to see couples. By the time I'm done with them, they're seeing couples. I never want to see kids. They see kids. Right? We all see everybody's kids. We all kind of wrap around. We're all fully trained too. So again, it's a little bit of investment in my company when you come in to work. I know with Dr. Franz, I do give a little bit of a slide from my Dr. Franz clients because I know that they're dedicated. And again, you do get folders. Everything's very structured. So when you do learn about these pieces, you get folders to go home and practice so that you can, get your spouse involved or get the whole family involved.
Where are you located?
I'm located in Winter Park. Right behind the Black Bean Deli, Fairbanks, and Orange. We moved to the second floor up there, which is kind of fun because I work every day. And so on Sundays, one of my kids was running around. They got YouTube on. I'm like, I don't care. It's mine. It's mine.
Right.
4. So we can bring the kids, as long as they're able to kind of hang out and like watch Netflix on the
Right.
TV. It's okay, we don't mind.
Therapy and chill.
Yeah, they're too little. Yeah, and let me plug Cindy for a second.
Okay.
She is a certified play therapist, so she does do play therapy with our kids as well. She's also a child coach, so she does teach my parents. Her room turns into a little bit of a toy closet. She's got everything within, everything kind of pulls out. So she does have manipulatives and make sure that they're having these conversations. In fact, this weekend we had 2 boys that come in, and she's helping them be better siblings. So I was working with the parents, and in conjunction, she was working with the kids, right? And that way we get that whole wraparound program with them. Okay. All right, guys, any questions? Covered all of it?
You got a lot.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for having me.